It was Price's way of life. Price died at age 92, leaving an immense legacy, one filled with many accolades, including Belize's highest honor, the Order of National Hero, and the respect of Belizeans across the political divide.
George Price was the child of Belize. Belize gave birth to him and nurtured him, and thus he was sent to fulfill the mission of his creator, and not necessarily to fulfill the desires of his parents. Much has been written, said, and remembered about the accomplishments of George Price. And one such singular accomplishment has been the attainment of our sovereign Belizean independence, with all our territories intact. Under his leadership, Belize experienced the introduction of universal adult suffrage in 1954. Prior to this time, only propertied males could vote. Today, every adult Belizean 18 years and older has the right to exercise his or her vote, a remarkable achievement by a man missioned to serve his Belizean people. Then there was the achievement of internal self-government in 1964, which would serve as the precursor or forerunner to what would become Mr. Price's most coveted achievement, the attainment in 1981 of our Belizean political independence.
That was my first lesson from George Price, help the poor. The second one was this custom that he started, and I think very few leaders in the world have realized the value of that, to meet the people one-on-one. And he did this religiously every week on a Wednesday. The clinic, the famous Wednesday clinic. So that was a second lesson that I learned from him, which I adopted myself when I became Prime Minister. Anyway, we had a good meeting. That was my first encounter with George Price. Later on, of course, he enveloped me, in fact, took me into the party and welcomed me, and I ran my first election and lost. But he came to me and he said, "Don't worry, I lost my first election too." Apparently he had run for city council before, and town council anyway, and had lost his first election too. But then he went on to win, as you know, I think from the 50s right up to the time of independence. He was first minister and then prime premier, and of course prime minister when we got our independence. And of course I spent many years under his tutelage, if you like. He was my mentor when I became a member of the cabinet. And that was quite an experience for me, just to watch him, how he conducted his meetings in cabinet. The first lesson he gave us in cabinet was, if you want to be rich, go into business, but don't become a politician. You don't become a politician to make money. You become a politician to serve the people. Yeah, Mr. Price wasn't into making money. He wasn't into living a lifestyle of wealth. He wasn't interested. In fact, he lived like a peasant. He would walk on the streets in Bambopan, picking up the garbage paper that people litter, setting lessons for people who watch it, of course. But he was a very humble man, very modest. When I traveled with him, for instance, in touring the country, all he would have is some sardines sandwiches, for lunch. I tell him, "Mr. Price, I can't handle that. Well, I would say the greatest lesson that Mr. Price gave us is to maintain your dignity and your honesty. He was a man of integrity. He didn't go into politics, as I said before, to make money. In other words, corruption was the thing that you could never accuse Mr. Price of being corrupt in politics. He wasn't. And I believe that's why the people loved him. That's why you and I love him. Because he was so pure, such a pure in that sense. And I think that will live on forever, because he's one of the few in the world today that has lived a life of integrity, complete integrity.
Happy birthday to the Honorable George Cadle Price. Your legacy as a visionary leader has left an indelible mark on our nation. May this special day be filled with joy, reflection, and warmth of the impact you've made. Continue to rest in peace as we celebrate you today.